Welcome back to the channel, folks. So we've been here a couple of days now and I have been very much enjoying my time in the Dolomites. It is definitely one of the best places I've ever ridden my bike. I've been to some fantastic places, but now this certainly does set the bar very, very high. So if you've never been to the Dolomites, if you've never heard of the Maratona, it is one of the most famous amateur one-day cycling events in the world. In fact, that's probably doing it an injustice because there's even live TV coverage. There's even massive sponsors that back this event that takes place every year around about the end of June, beginning of July. Now, I haven't even ridden some of the roads that we're going to ride on in this event later in this video, but I can already imagine just how good they are. We've ridden some of the roads, but not all of them. If they're anything like what we've already done, we're in for a very, very special day. So I've been trying to do a little bit of homework, and this event has been around for approximately 36 years now, and started off with just 166 participants. Let me tell you something, okay? This is going to blow your mind, but there's generally about 30,000 people that apply to come and ride this event. And it's a ballot entry. So obviously not everybody gets a ride. But this year there's 8,000 riders taking the start line. But because we've come here with Alp Cycles and the whole team, the whole crew that's built around trying to make your experience better as a group, your package includes that entry, so you don't have to enter through the ballot. It's a guaranteed entry. But of course, you get the personal touch. You get, you know, the feed station. You get the inside knowledge. You get the banter. You get the bike washing and like the building the bikes and all that kind of support as well, which really helps make the transition between you arriving here and then you doing the event, completing the event, and then leaving with a really good experience that much better. So anyway, that's enough chatting. I want to break into this event bag that I picked up yesterday when myself and ROL rode down to the event start, and I want to see what goodies we have here. What have we got? Well, we've got Center Italia bar tip, leaflets and maps of the local area. We have energy gel and bars. I have a bottle, something from Castelli. We have my race number and timing chip. Ooh, I like these. Have you ever had one of these before? They're really nice. Of course, the climbs and the bottle of Prosecco. I've actually been looking at the course on the website. So this is the full route that you see here, 138 kilometers, just over 4,000 meters of climbing. This is the Laverack route here. Really, really cool route. We have this nice little bit of rolling terrain, which is like slightly downhill. And then we have the Passo Giau and the final climb here before descent to the finish. But we have a very special climb here, right at the end, which is 19%, but it's like 12% average for about 300 meters. So it's really nice on the website. They break down all the climbs. And yeah, the Podoi, which is the second climb, the Passo Sella. These are all just truly fantastic climbs. And then obviously the Passo Giau. And I really like this bit. On the Passo Giau, you will find calm, enervate, refreshment, and sore legs. And then here's the final climb of the day, which is completely like the opposite of what we've done, or what we will do all day. And it's the Mur del Gat, I think is how you pronounce it. And it's a very short, sharp, steep climb. And I'm looking forward to doing that, which is like basically like a leg snapper. Wakey, wakey, rise and shine, Eddie. We need to go and get this Maratona event started. So I rolled out at the start, and it's a very early start, and I get into my pen. There's about 2,000 riders in each of these pens, which is pretty bonkers, really, when you think about it. And I don't think I started near the front of my pen either. I was like maybe 3/4 of the way back, or halfway back in my pen, which was a little bit disappointing, but you know, the damage was already done in a sense that I wasn't in the first pen. At the first pen, you had potentially the people who were going to do this route the fastest, and they had red numbers, as opposed to, in my pen, we had green numbers. So it was really useful later on in the event to actually pick out riders who would have been in your pen and who wouldn't have been in your pen. And I knew that I had my work cut out. And if you've already seen the results, you know, I'm going to share the results with you now. But I finished 10th. I finished 10th at the Maratona Gran Fondo, which I'm incredibly happy with, considering the level that these events bring and the types of riders who really excel on these types of courses. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that, you know, I could have won this event, but my goal was to finish in a time of 4 hours 45 minutes or better, and I knew that would give me potentially a chance at a top 15, and I managed to get a 10th. And just in front of me was Mr. DeMarchi, who is a well-known gravel endurance rider, but also an accomplished road racer as well. There were lots of riders in the positions just in front of me who are very, very, very well known on the Gran Fondo circuit, especially in Europe, because of course, you know, this is a very big thing in Europe, and I appreciate how, you know, difficult these events are. These guys, you know, they are class acts. You know, they are professional level type riders. There's no doubt about that. You know, the type of riders that these guys are. Plus, you know, they're climbers. A lot of them just out and out climbers. So I had my work cut out, you know, starting this far back, but I like a challenge. And a challenge it was. We hit the Campolongo within the first kind of 10 minutes. It's a gradual uphill. I managed to throw some leg warmers and my rain cape and a few other things to the Alp Cycles team, who were at the bottom of the Campolongo right at the start there. And you'll see them again later, about halfway through this video, where I catch them again at the feed. And I just start picking people off, and it was a great first climb. I wasn't really held up much. There was a little bit of free space on the left hand side, which I darted for and just tried to, you know, make myself known to people to say that I was coming up and overtaking. But yeah, I knew I had a lot of work to do, but I was well up for the challenge. Coming up to the summit of Campolongo, it's starting to thin out. I invested a little bit at the bottom there in the hairpins, just to try and get myself into some clear space for this descent. And then we've got like a 30-minute climb at the Podoi, which will for sure string things out, but I'm nowhere near the front, obviously. So getting over the top and hitting the descent, you know, this, what you're going to see over the next 55 kilometers, which is the first loop, the Ronda loop, is you know, I knew all the climbs, I knew the descents, so I was able to follow riders and I was able to pace the descents with them. And most riders, you know, it's not a surprise, right? Like, most of the riders in this event are Italian, and a lot of them know the descents. They know how the roads react in this country. They know, like, they have a special, you know, bond with their own roads. Just like, you know, when I did the dragon ride in Wales, I knew exactly how the roads would react. I knew all that stuff. So following them down, and there was a little bit patchy, you know, some greasy spots and things, and I hadn't ridden in the rain down here, so I didn't know how it would react. So I just took my time and just made sure I got down the descent into Araba safely, and you can see it there in the distance. That's the Podoi there just in front of us. Incredible morning. Just hit the bottom of the Podoi, sailing to a rhythm now. Slow and steady. So hopefully I can get across in this video like a little bit of, well, two things. You know, it's the experience and just how cool this event is. You know, it's one of the best events I've ever done, and I hand on my heart say that. You know, I've not been paid to say that. I genuinely believe it's one of the best events I've ever done, and I definitely want to come back. And the other thing as well is this perspective of, you know, starting further back and trying to work my way up and getting through groups and trying to get into this finishing position that, you know, potentially, you know, it's a very rare thing to see, but like I just want to be able to try and storytell to the best of my ability how I'm able to get from where I started to my finishing position, because it's quite an interesting story, and it's an all-day affair. Like, you know, it didn't just, if I started in the front and we were racing with the leaders from the get-go, I don't know, the video may have just been like me talking about how we just worked together for 100k and then we just attacked each other for the last 30k, and it wouldn't have been as much of an exciting day. You know, there was a lot of uncertainties with me riding by myself all day that we get to later in this video. That's the TV helicopter. I can see all the way up there. The front group, I think. A good few kilometers ahead on the Podoi. Beautiful sky behind me. It's only 7:30 AM. At the top of the Podoi, we've done 24k in the first hour with normalized power of just shy of 300 watts. And this is what I knew to be the hardest part of the whole Maratona. Alright, so I've front loaded my nutrition so that I'm consuming probably the highest energy available foods in these first couple of hours, because this is where I'm burning the most. My normalized power would be the highest over these first 2.5 hours versus the last, you know, 2 to 2.5 hours, and that's purely just because the climbs are back to back to back. So you'll go in between, you know, 90% of FTP and then 0% of FTP on the descents. Obviously, you're going back and forth between that over the first 2 hours for long stints. You know, I'm obviously taking on these climbs much faster than most people, and you know, that's why I tell people as well, like, your nutrition probably matters, not more than mine, but you know, you have to get more energy and you're out there for longer again. So although the Podoi would take me 25 minutes, it might take you guys, you know, 45-50 minutes. So there's lots of things you have to think about in order to perform your best over the whole day, and that was a goal of mine, to not fade over the last two climbs, especially the Passo Giau, which we'll get to very soon. So I'm catching smaller and smaller groups now at the top of the Sella, which has this wonderful view of the rock formations on the right hand side here. Just incredible. The scenery, it takes your mind off the ride so much. And you might be thinking like, oh, I don't need to go ride the Maratona now because I've seen this video and like, you've seen all there is to see. But genuinely, like, it's incredible how the mountains make you feel, but also the descents. Like, the descents are rest periods, but there's so much to see that you almost forget that you're actually riding a bike. And so I get to the top of the Sella, had this really nice descent, and then we start this last little cheeky climb to the top of the Gardina, and that's where we descend eventually back into the I think it's Corvara, where we will eventually finish or Corfosco or Corvara. And speaking of barriers, we come through a section here with Segafredo over it and all over it. And it's a shame I couldn't stop for a coffee, but I had a job to do, and I kind of knew I was pushing on now and getting like some good ground being made up. And I found an ally in one rider just on this little flat plateau section. Again, just look at the views, look at the cliffs. And this is still super early in the morning, right? You have to remember that this is like about 8 a.m. And yeah, it's probably even nicer in a couple of hours time. But I was just pressing on, making sure I could make up ground, and yeah, we hit this absolutely fabulous descent, which I'm just going to show you some clips of. But man, I really wish you could have seen it like in all its glory. It was incredible.
Me trying to vlog at 2,200 meters is not a good idea, but we almost finished the cellar ronda. First 55k almost done, but we still can't see lead group, can't see the helicopter, which would give it away. But technically only 3 climbs left: Campolongo, Giau, and Falza, I can't remember, but yeah, got a bit of downhill now. Feeling very good, very good. Gonna keep pressing, see what happens.
So we get through the start and finish area, or rather the finish area, not the start area, I apologise. And then we immediately get to the feed zone, which is where Alp cycles were parked up there on the end on the right hand side. Paolo was doing an absolute runner here, magic handoff for the 2 bottles that I had given him. And I had to slow down, or rather I had to speed up to actually catch up to him because he was running so fast. And then I had to slow down because I thought I was going to end up pulling him up the mountain when I grabbed that bottle off him. But that was good. That was a really good piece of support there, you know, like just not having to stop, and effectively just able to roll straight through and get back onto the Campolongo once again.
Big gamba. I will keep going. Little plateau here with 3k to some of the Campolongo. So we did that cellar route in like an hour and 55 minutes. A lot faster than I expected, and I'm excited for the Giau. Very excited for it. Bring it on! We want Giau, we want Giau. Just cresting the top of the Campolongo, and unfortunately there's a sizable group just up ahead which I couldn't quite bridge to, and we've got a long valley, slight downhill coming up, so it would have been ideal to be with a group, but it doesn't matter, we're still plodding on well. I haven't been caught on any climbs yet, and I'm getting funny looks when I'm catching riders on climbs, so we keep plodding on and we'll see what happens.
So fuel strategy wise, you know, now that we've gone over the Campolongo, we're onto a little bit of a flat plateau road, which gradually takes us down towards the Giau. A couple of little climbs to do, but nothing spectacular. But it's the next 25k where you just have time to think and eat. You know, I picked up those 2 bottles from Paolo at the feed, which meant I did this whole ride on 4 bottles, and I had approximately 90 grams of carbs in each of those bottles. And then on top of that, I would either have a 50 gram energy bar, or I would have a 30 gram energy gel, or I had a pack of jelly, which some of you queried. It does actually work, but it has a lot of carbs in, so I would use that sparingly. But I ended up eating pretty much all of it, and probably every hour I was averaging around about 110 to 140 grams of carbs.
Ah, this is so nice. Got the views, got open road, got the Passo Giau in front of me. Couldn't be happier.
Now, as you can tell, I'm very much enjoying this ride up to this point. You know, we're over the halfway mark. We've got approximately 2 hours or so left to ride, and I was just checking my average screen on my Wahoo, and you can't really see it here, but I've got a breakdown of like the time in power zones. I spend it around an hour at this point in power zone 3, and spending about half an hour in power zone 4. Now, I knew with the Giau coming up that, you know, obviously I have to recover, I have to ride in zone 1 and zone 2 and make sure I get aero, because this road is quite fast leading up to the Giau. And that's what I did. I just tried to conserve a little bit of energy and mentally prepare myself for what could be the hardest 35 to 40 minutes. I know some of you have laughed at that when I spoke to you afterwards. They were like, how do you even do it that quick? But it's all about the power to weight, isn't it? So I don't really know what else to say other than that. And I just dug in, and I knew that it would be a test of my ability.
So the Giau is where everyone's going to be suffering, and I think the leaders are going to attack each other hard. So I need to invest as much as I can there, because the position I'm in now, I'm still catching riders. So I need to think about like leaving as much of my zone 4 kind of threshold power on this climb. I need to empty all of it, because the last climb is a bit more gradual, less about what's per kilo really. So I need to invest on Giau hard. Crap, I've blown a spoke. It's completely sheared. Now my wheel's got a bit of a buckle in it, so I think I'll probably have to be careful now. Well, we've made it to the Giau. My wheel is wobbling somewhat, but I've only got 2 real climbs left, so I just need to manage it. And 10k, 10% basically. Huge climb this one. So we come into the Giau on this lovely road. I nearly overcooked the left hand corner, but of course now we have this we have a spanner in the works, as they say, which is my missing spoke. Now, it wasn't a big problem other than me having to be a little bit more careful with the wheel. There was a lot of portals around. It literally just went bang. The spoke literally just went bang. So it's just one of those things. But I couldn't have been more wrong about what I said about the leaders like really attacking each other on the Giau. They did go up this climb marginally faster than me. I think it was about a minute or so over the whole 35-minute effort. I managed to do a really good climb up the Giau of 39 minutes over the 9.5k at 9.5%. So again, averaging 312 watts, which is perfect. Starting to get a little bit of cardiac drift now, but nothing too significant. And the Giau as a climb was just, to me, it was a very nice climb, just because there wasn't much changing in gradient, and you could just settle in and just churn away. Now, I appreciate not a lot of people like those sort of climbs, and obviously the steep ones are a lot harder. You need like lower gearing and all this kind of stuff. It is something to think about, you know. It comes so far into the day as well that maybe, you know, having a lower gear may be something you think about. But the sun was coming out. It was starting to look like a really glorious day, and I was really enjoying, you know, being in the moment and imagining that I was Primoz Roglic going up this last half of the Giau. But it's worth pointing out, to keep you in the loop of what was happening with like the competition. So it was at this point that I could still see the helicopter. So I knew the helicopter, if I was like 3k to go to the top of the Giau, and the guys weren't that far ahead. They were still a fair way ahead, but not as far as I thought they might have been. Like they hadn't like pulled out a bigger gap. So I was happy with that. And I knew if I kept plugging away, then anything could happen. Riders could maybe start coming back to me who were in that front group. And that's what happened. You know, the descent of the Giau, I was trying to do some calculations, and I was trying to work out how many riders had actually caught on the Giau over the 40 minutes. And it was actually only 3 riders. And I thought, well, if I've only caught 3 riders, then there can't be that many in front of me, surely. Because
You know, we've been riding for near enough almost 3.5 hours now at this point, and I thought, you know, there's not that far to go, and surely, you know, there's not going to be that many riders in front of me now. And of course, the key thing to remember is that this route is not the only route. There's the Gran Fondo as well, which a couple of really quality riders decided to do, so they turned off before we hit the Giau. So this front group of leading riders who were doing the full route, you know, they were accompanied by riders who were doing the Gran Fondo. And so they would turn off and split. So say if there were 20 riders in that front group, including Vincenzo Nibali, by the way, yes, you hear that right, Nibali decided to do the Gran Fondo, so I never saw him all day, which is a real shame, to be honest. But the group split, so, you know, I may no longer have been in 20th position. Technically, I may have well been like in 10th position, or at least this is what I was kind of thinking while I was out on the road and coming down the Giau.
Oh, I made it down the Giau, gingerly down the Giau. Ah, it's disappointing. My climb up was great, but I just didn't want to put a lot of weight on that wheel on the descent and a lot of strain in the corners and the hairpins. I don't know how it would react, but there we are. It is what it is. One last climb, we've got about 35k to go, and then somewhat of a downhill to the end. I'm looking forward to it. 12k at 5%, coming in hot.
And this, I gotta be honest, was extremely unexpected. So whether we had a tailwind or whether I just managed to find something extra, I have no idea. So I caught this rider literally within the first couple of 100 meters of the Passo Valparola, or the Falzarego, as it's also called. And I knew that this climb would be a climb of two halves because it had a flat section in it, but it also had some steep sections in it. The flat section was really significant. I'd really broke up the climb, so it meant I could positive split this climb in the first half and still recover for the second.
I'm in the big dog, not giving into it. 6% grade for the next 5k, and then it's 20k almost downhill, give or take a little bit. I haven't seen anyone in ages, so I can only assume that I'm a little bit closer to the front than maybe I think. At the top of the Giau there was helicopter noises with about 3k from the top, so front group are probably 15-20 minutes ahead roughly, or maybe more.
But with this climb, I literally didn't see another rider. So I caught that rider at the bottom, and it was quite demoralizing then at that point because there was nobody else in front of me. And my mind started to run away from me, and I kind of thought, no, there's no way. Like, surely I can't be in the top 10 here. Like, you know, there must be riders who, you know, are between me and that front group, surely. But, you know, I didn't see anybody for the next 30 minutes on this climb. I didn't catch one person, and I wasn't slowing down. I was still doing 310 watts on these climbs, which is about 5.2 watts per kilo. On this climb, the Valparola, was about 32 minutes. And fun fact, I actually managed to set the 10th fastest time on Strava on this climb as well, so hence why I thought it was a tailwind. And in terms of effort management, I couldn't have done it any better. You know, I was finishing on the final climb so strongly, which makes you feel so good as well, and it motivates you even more as well. You know, when you're capable of doing that in the moment, it just motivates you that much more. And getting to the top of the climb, getting much closer to the top, I caught a rider who I thought for sure he was on this route that was joining on us, so from the Medio route, and I caught up to him. And I looked at his number as I was going past, and I saw it was a red number, and I was like, oh, I mean, that red number must mean he was in that front group, or he must have been, you know, ahead of me. So that was one rider that I thought I picked off, and I got a good chance now of putting some time in with about 800 or 900 meters to go to the summit of this final mountain. So I dug in and I got to the top of this climb, and catching riders who were on the medio route now, because they just joined on to us for this last kilometer of the climb.
Wow, what a summit.
I knew that if I got onto this descent with a little bit of clear space, it would save me from taking any risks in my rear wheel. And then if the rider behind me, who I caught just a kilometer from the top, if he catches up with me, then I've got somebody to work with. So that was my thinking. And we get down this absolutely wonderful descent. It's lots of wide sweeping corners. This was probably my second favourite descent of the whole ride, actually, and it was really nice that it came so close to the end. And then the road gets wider, the tarmac gets better, and as you're coming back into the start town, you know, myself and my new friend, we worked together for a little bit, and then we got close to the final climb of the whole day, which would be the I could butcher it now. I was I was preparing myself to say it. The Gat, or the Gat, the Mergat, and instantly he just waved me past, and he said, "I've got absolutely nothing left." So I appreciate the work and the help that he gave me on that little valley road. You know, it was good to have someone to work with, but I was literally one of the only people I worked with all day, apart from coming up to the end of the Laverack route. So, you know, it was nice to have a wheel to sit on for a very short space of time. And when I hit this climb, do you know what I thought? I thought to myself, this is like British Hill Climb Championships all over again. Like, there's lots of people stood in it. I'm going to give it full beans, and we're going to get up here as quick as possible. And once we get over it, it's virtually, you know, downhill to the end. So it's approximately 300 meters of 14%, but there's a really steep section like near the top. And I just dig in, and I stay seated, and I'm just driving the pedals as hard as possible. And you know, it's really, really motivating. Like, such a nice way to end. And yeah, I know there's mixed reviews about this. People have been saying, "Oh, why would they put this here? Because, like, you know, it's just cruel. Just send us along the main road and we get to the finish." And I was also thinking, like, well, it's this special atmosphere. Like, it's something different. It's not what you'd get at the Marmot. It's not what you get at, like, the Mallorca 312. And also, you know, the leaders, they come together at the end, the 5 or 6 or 7 of them, they come together at the end here, and there's still nothing to separate them. So let's throw in a 14 to 15% climb for 300 meters and see if that splits up. So I get over it with 430 watts. It takes me about 1 minute and 20 seconds to clear it, and then I get onto the descent and onto this little fast section to bring us back into the finish. And I'm just on cloud 9. Honestly, it's one of the best events I've ever done. I will 100% be back. I have to come back. Bring Charlie, bring a couple of people with us as well. Let's make a thing of it for sure. Because it's one that I think every cyclist needs to tick off, regardless if you like climbs. I think the descents are just spectacular, and as long as you can make the time cuts for these for these routes, you can do the full thing. You know, I think the feed stations and everything, it's all like really, really good. And the temperature wasn't super hot. You can see the cloud cover. It didn't rain. It wasn't windy. It was just a perfect day, an absolutely perfect day. And I really couldn't have been happy with my ride. I got to be honest. You know, I spread my energy really effectively over the whole day. You know, I produced my best 20-minute power on the Passo Giau on the first 20 minutes to really invest on that climb. And you know, the same goes for my best 30 minutes. That was on the Passo Giau. So I did what I said I wanted to do. You know, my best normalized power came in that first section, which is where I needed to lay down the power. I was just very happy with the day, and it was a great experience, and one that I would highly, highly recommend.
Would you like the hat or 10 euros?
I'll take the hat.
Bye, ciao.
Of course I'm gonna take a hat. Look at the atmosphere. This is a great place for a finish. That's wonderful. Well, I'm back at the hotel with my finisher's medal. I am very, very pleased with that ride. All things considered, having the little blip that was my spoke blowing out, the wheel held up brilliantly. I had to take it a little bit steady for a while, but once I knew it was kind of, I thought it would hold out until the end, I was able to ride like I was prior to that happening. The support was brilliant. Oh, the people out on the road cheering, marshalling, it was all just amazing. It's been a really, really good week, and as much as I'm tired now, it's been full of experiences with new people, and I've just thoroughly enjoyed having a stab at new roads, new climbs, and everything else in between. So, gonna wrap up this video here. I'm gonna get a shower, pack my bike, and we head home tomorrow. So, thank you so much for watching another adventure, and I will see you in the next video.